Hello, everybody. I'm Deborah
Hello.
Byrd, and you're here with EarthSky's Sun News of the Week. Alex couldn't be with us today, but we have our very popular Earth's YouTube presenter, Will Triggs, here with us. Hi, Will.
Hey everyone. Hey Debbie. How's it going?
This is Will. This is Will live, you guys. So very exciting. Usually
A
we
rare
see
treat.
Will, yeah. Usually we see Will on our shorts, so you can look for him there. He has some wonderful videos on all kinds of stuff. So hey, sun stuff coming.
Sure is. Yeah, another exciting day in the sun. Got some more sun stuff coming to Earth.
I know, and it seemed like there was not much happening this week. Like it seemed like we were in another one of those strange little lulls that can happen
Hmm.
when the sun is at solar maximum. But instead, we got this nifty neato X flare yesterday. And here's some imagery showing the X flare. It happened on the side of the sun that's just now rotating into view.
Yeah, it sure did. It was very welcome X flare because, as you say, it was a pretty long lull. About a week, we saw some C flares. I don't think any M flares at all as well. But then suddenly, that's what the sun does at solar max. Bam, as an X flare.
Yeah. And what I think is so interesting about that is that it's like here we are having our 24-hour day, right? But the sun's day is 25 Earth days long.
Hmm.
So the sun doesn't care about our 24-hour period that we're trying to say, oh, so many flares occurred in this 24-hour period. I mean, to the
Yeah,
sun, that means nothing. So
yeah.
so it does seem to have these periods of super activity. And we had one of those toward the end of last week. And then the region that was causing a lot of the activity because the sun is rotating like everything in space is rotating. That region rotated out of view. It got kind of quiet for a while. But then, boom, X3 flare yesterday.
And that's the fun thing because we were obviously it was very quiet on the sun. We were seeing these little loops, these coronal loops they call them, and these filaments, these bits of solar material, magnetic fields, all on that side of the sun, the eastern limb as they call it. And we were thinking, there's something coming around there, and then eventually, that's where the X flare
Something
came from.
something coming round the bend.
Hmm.
And I think they did say also that there was helioseismology, which is a way of, it's kind of like studying, it's the study of somewhat akin to seismic waves in the earth. It's sort of vibrations within the sun. And using that technique, they can see, the sun scientists can see to the other side of the sun. And they did know that there were some active, very active regions coming and some big sunspots coming. And now a couple of those are here. So we got this cool X flare. And I think the really cool thing about this X flare is this, that then the flare produced a coronal mass ejection. So can you tell us about this chart, Will?
Yeah, it's one of the funkier charts that we get to go through the sun post. It's pretty crazy looking. But basically, what you need to look at is the white dot in the center. That's the sun. And the spiral going around, that's the solar wind that's always coming out of the sun, these charged particles. And then that little yellow dot on the right is Earth. And then you can see that kind of U shape, that kind of darker red bit that's streaming out. That is the coronal mass ejection on this big burp of sun stuff, solar material, magnetic fields that came out of that X flare. And you can just see on the top corner of that ejection is just hitting Earth. It's sort of a glancing blow, we call it. And you can see that on the right as well. Um, it's not full on, but it's going to hit us, we think.
Yeah. And so when is that expected?
So we're thinking arriving by midday tomorrow, UTC. So that could be kind of late or not long before dawn, America time. Um,
Right.
Up to then, but it's quite an approximate thing. Often these coronal mass ejection arrivals, sometimes they're early, sometimes they're late, and sometimes they don't come at all. So
So
yeah,
what?
sometime
So
over the next day.
yeah. So what we're seeing here is just computer modeling of what might happen, and the prediction is for midday tomorrow UTC, which is midday where you'll be, Will's in the UK. I'm in the central US, so for me, it'll be early in the morning tomorrow when this thing hits. And that may be why NOAA's aurora forecast for tonight shows a stronger chance for auroras tonight than for tomorrow night. But if it were me and I were at a high latitude, which you would need to be to see these auroras, I'd go out both nights and take a look.
Yeah, for sure. It's probably not going to be hitting me in the UK, and probably not you in Texas. But if you're at a good high latitude, there's a chance. Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah, so what is your latitude there in, say, London? What's the latitude?
I think it's 52, I think is latitude. So it's quite
Oh,
far north.
I thought it was higher than that. 52,
Yeah,
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 okay. Yeah, that's still pretty high compared to where I am because 'cause I'm at 29, so it's like
yeah,
I'm much farther south than you are.
yeah.
So, yeah, so you'd have to be so, on this these aurora charts, the green oval is where auroras might be seen. The red arc that you're seeing there on the image on the left is where the greatest intensity would be, but you can kind of see a red line on the chart on the left that's going through the northern US. And that red line indicates where if you were in one of those northern US states, you could look toward your northern sky and see auroras in the north, like fairly close to the horizon. So it's it's a chance to see some auroras from the northern US and maybe even I'm not sure what the highest latitude in the US is. I think it is around the same latitude as London. So maybe you might have a
Yeah,
chance there. And you're in Oxford, you're not actually in London, you're in Oxford. Is that north
yeah.
or south of London?
About it's pretty close. Not too far. Bit north. But
Yeah, a
it's
bit
about
north.
the same.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so that is the sun stuff coming our way, possibly tonight and tomorrow. Good time to look for auroras if you're at a high latitude, and probably even better that the all signs point to that there's some cool action coming in. This is a image of the sun from today. So why don't you tell us about this one, Will?
Also, this is an M flare, not quite as big as the X flare that we saw yesterday morning, but still a reasonably big flare, moderate flare. And it's actually from a different region. It looks pretty similar, but it's a slightly different sunspot region. But as we were saying, there was the big clump of activity that was coming around, and this is just part of that clump. So it looks like there could be a lot more activity from this kind of area, but remains to be seen.
So it was, so they give these AR numbers, and AR stands for active regions. So the X flare was AR 3869, and that was yesterday. And then this morning, this M flare came from a different region, AR 3873. So yeah, it's just a big clump of activity appears to be moving into view, and it might be fun to watch over the coming week. So that would be a cool thing to see.
Mhm.
So, what else have we got? How about this? Core 1. I'm assuming they're gonna call it Core 1, CCOR1.
Hmm.
What do you think? Are they
Yeah,
calling it Core 1?
it's a bit of a mouthful. I mean, I guess core, yeah, the double C. I don't know what they would
Yeah,
think about that
Core
one.
Core
Yeah,
1. Yeah. So to tell us about this, it's a new tool, right, that
it
scientists are gonna
is.
start using?
Yeah, or new-ish. So this is a coronagraph, and it's called that because it reveals the corona, which is the upper atmosphere of a star, and in this case, our sun. And it does that by using what's called an occulter, where you can see that kind of spoon shape coming through and blocking out the center of the sun. And it works just like a solar eclipse, like a total solar eclipse. So if anyone out there saw the April 8th total solar eclipse this year, you'll know that when the sun gets fully blocked out, the bright part of the sun, you start to see this amazing wispy atmosphere around the sun because the contrast is better and you don't have that really bright bit in the middle. And that's exactly what's happening here. It's exactly the same process. And it lets solar scientists see the atmosphere of the sun. And that's important because then we get to see these big bursts of plasma, coronal mass ejections, CMEs, because that's what they are, coronal mass getting ejected from the sun, from the corona. And so we use a coronagraph to spot them. And that's what this is.
Oh, how cool. And so, yeah, and it's mass coming from the sun and also, mixed together with magnetic fields, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the important part when we're looking at, is it going to cause an aurora? Because those magnetic fields are what messes with our planet's magnetic fields and then eventually brings us some beautiful auroras, hopefully, and sometimes. But
And
yeah,
so they launched this new instrument, and this looks very much like the images. Let's talk about that. Like this looks very much like some other images that we've seen there of
yeah,
the sun. What's special about this one?
yeah. It does look pretty familiar. But
It
then you might be
does.
surprised to see that NOAA announced this the other day as the first operational space-based coronagraph, and we were sort of,
It's like, wait a minute.
what? So we were a
Yeah.
bit confused with that one. Um, because yeah, the one we're used to and that you guys might have seen it every day almost in our sun post is from NASA's SOHO spacecraft, the LASCO instrument on that. And that
Right.
spacecraft was launched in 1995. So it's been running a while. But what NOAA is saying is this is the first space-based coronagraph that is designed specifically to measure to look at the corona every day as an operating monitoring instrument because SOHO was designed for science, basically. It was designed to research, to learn more about the sun. And now it kind of monitors the corona, but
Yeah.
that's not what it was designed for. So
Right. And when Soho, did you say it went up in 1995? Is that when Soho went up?
95, yeah.
Yeah. So Alex had said, Alex is our sun scientist who we work with on our daily sun post. He is in Chile right now and couldn't be with us today. But he did mention, I think the last time we were live streaming about the sun, he did mention that when the word space weather wasn't coined until around the year 2000.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
It's really
And it's,
mind-blowing to me because that just
yeah.
seems like there's so many websites out there now that talk about space weather, and it just seems like it's always been with us, but until the year
hmm
2000, nobody had coined that term. Although I guess I did look that up, and it was used in some scientific papers back in, like, the '50s and stuff like that, but
yeah.
it didn't come into widespread use until, pretty recently in terms of,
hmm
you know I mean, speaking for myself, that seems 20 years ago seems pretty recently,
Yeah,
but
that
maybe not
counts.
to you, Will, maybe not to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, it looks a lot like LASCO. You can see that thing blowing off the side in this image. That's a coronal mass ejection leaving the sun. And it looks like this image was acquired by Core 1 on September 29th, but the instrument was actually launched aboard NOAA's. They called it the GOES-U satellite, and now I think they're calling it GOES-19. They changed its name once it became operational. So those GOES satellites of NOAA's tend to be for weather forecasting, earthly weather, and now they have one that's for space weather forecasting, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So more and more, we're learning about all this stuff. So, I think we have one more thing to say. Oh, no, we already showed that, the M flare. So, yeah, let me go back to that M flare for just a second. Yeah, so this guy is rotating in on the side of the sun that's just now coming into view, and we're expecting to see some cool action come along here. So stay with us for that, and we will be back here next Friday to talk about the sun news of next week. And also, please join us on Monday when EarthSky's Dave Adalian will be speaking with Astor Taylor about dark comets, which are very cool. So, EarthSky live streams are nearly all at 12:15 p.m. Central Time, 17:15 UTC. And Will, thank you for being with us today. Thanks everyone who's
Cool.
watching, and we will see you on Monday.
Bye all.
Um, Jeremiah,